my papa, to me he was so wonderful. Oh, my papa, he always understood. Gone are the days when he would take me on his knee, and with a smile would turn my tears to laughter. Actually, for my dad, my arrival was a bad deal. You see, when I came, his wife, who he loved very much, died. And the doctor had told her, "You haven't got enough strength to give birth to this child." And she said, "I want to give birth to the child." And so I came along, but my dad missed his wife terribly, and he got this little boy bouncing around, and we kind of got off on the wrong foot. And as a small child, and then as a child and a teenager, I was full of life, and my dad just had a very hard life, raising by himself 5 children, and then with a stepmother. He married again in a rather unfortunate relationship, and so he and I just never hit it off. And what's more, I disagreed with him on many things, and particularly I disagreed with him on politics. And he came from a socialist background, and he backed Labor, and when I came to the voting age, he asked me who I was going to vote for, and I was going to vote for Conservatives, Liberals. Well, that really drove him mad, and we almost had a fist fight over who I was going to vote for. I share this because many times in families there are difficulties between a child and parent, or between child and child, and at times we kind of gloss over them, but I think Father's Day for me is a good time to remember them. My father was very admirable. He worked hard to provide the bare necessities and extras, if possible, for his children, of which I was one. And he worked very hard for his church. He did this for many years, and his church fellowship saw him through his early marriage, through the death of my mother, through him raising his children, and the new wife he had, who was not very adequate, but he did all of this, all he could, all his life. And when he left the church that he'd been part of for many years, they gave him a bag. It's called a Gladstone bag. It looks like this one, except the bag had in gold letters on the side, W.H.S., William Henry Stewart. That was his name. And I looked at that bag and I admired it so much, and I realized it was a symbol of who my dad was. In his later life, my dad twice put his age back so that he could be employed as a younger man. And I remember when I was working, I would pass him and he would be out on the sports field mowing with a big tractor. He was in fact 72. The council that employed him thought he was 64. But that's the kind of thing my dad did to just keep some money in the bank and care for all his dependents and his own needs. In his 70s, my dad made friends with 2 ladies, Mrs. Cleal and Miss Ragg, and his greatest joy was taking them out on weekends for drives in his car. It wasn't a joy for me or for my brother or sisters because he drove so erratically, but God looked after him, or by good luck he never had an accident, but he loved being a tour guide for these 2 ladies. It gave him great joy, and I found joy in the fact that he had found some satisfaction in these years. In his mid-70s he died, and he died of asbestos poisoning. after the war, he'd taken to building small houses, and the major building product he used was asbestos sheets like these ones. And asbestos has terrible fibres that get in the lungs. He didn't know, no one knew at that time, and that's what killed him. My dad had one thing of value, and that was this watch. And I don't know out of the 5 children how I got it, but I did. And it's gold or goldish. There is gold in there somewhere. And it was his pride and joy. And I'm not sure if it was given to him or if he bought it, but it was his thing that he wore with great pride on special occasions. And now it's mine. When I go to a funeral, I'm always surprised to hear people talking about meeting their loved one in some other world, somewhere in the sky. Now, this is said by people who are not particularly religious, but this seems to be a widely held belief of this great reunion in the skies. I don't have that belief. And I simply think, when I think of my dad, I think of him as he was. And do you know what? Now in my heart, I kind of make peace with him. And I show him respect. Isn't it a pity he never experienced this when he was alive, but now I realize he was a man of great character and great dependability. I really appreciate him for all he did, and I wish I could chat with him, so I just chat with him in my imagination. I tell you all this because Father's Day, apart from the special meal and all that celebration, I'm sure for many of you, this remembrance of parenting is not all wine and roses, it's not all fun. Well, this Father's Day will fill your home with lots of different feelings. While you still have Dad, while you still have your relatives around you, look at them with kindness and generosity and understand the way that they act is coming out of the complicated web of their lives. Be generous, forgiving, and loving to each other, and have a great day.